Hello, my favorite English language learners. It is your favorite English teacher here, Amy Joy. And in today's video, I am going to teach you how to talk about probability, likelihood, and research results using all of these words right here. So if you are studying for the TOEFL, the IELTS, or you are studying in university, or you just want to level up your English, then stick with me. But before we begin, I have a really exciting announcement to make. My very first ebook will be available on June 1st. This will be a vocabulary workbook that teaches you 75 advanced C1, C2 level words that I have not taught in my YouTube videos so far. And since these C1, C2 level words don't occur as often as more basic everyday words, I have filled this workbook with many opportunities for you to see these words in readings, in conversations, and to practice using them on your own. So the book will be available June 1st, but you can pre-order it now. And if you order it before June 1st, then you will get 25% off and a handwritten postcard from your favorite English teacher as a thank you for supporting me and my channel. So go to my website, yourfavoriteenglishteacher.com, for more information about the book and how to order it. Okay, now back to the topic of probability. So I was reading about a research study done by the Pew Research Center, and they said young adults in the US are less likely than those in most of Europe to live in their parents' home. And I thought this topic was really interesting, but I also thought it was a great opportunity to share with you some of these words, which are related to likelihood and probability. So in this chart, you will notice that I've broken these words down into their word forms or their parts of speech. And that is because although these words all relate to possibility, their word forms determine what kind of grammar we can use with them. So in this video, I'm going to teach you 5 different grammatical constructions in which we can use all of these words to talk about possibility and probability. And the first one is to be more or less likely to do something. And we are actually only using the adjective likely here. So let's take a look at a few sentences. Number 1, the research study said that men are more likely than women to live at home with their parents, and women are less likely than men to live at home. And number 3, Americans were more likely to see young adults living with their parents as a bad thing. So notice that we use be, more or less likely, and then the infinitive to do something. And our second grammar construction is it is, and then any of these adjectives plus that. So we can say it is likely that, it is probable that, it is possible that, it is unlikely that, or it is improbable that. But just notice that the word potential is an adjective, but we do not use it with this grammar construction. We would not say it is potential that. So let's look at a few more examples. Number 1, it is likely or possible that cultural and economic factors have caused this difference. Now, likely here means probably, whereas possible is a little bit more neutral. You are just saying it is a possibility, but not that it is likely or unlikely, just that it could be that way. But in number 2, we might say, it is improbable that young adults want to live with their parents. Here I am assuming that young adults do not want to live with their parents. I am saying this is improbable. It is not probable, it is not likely. But rather, it is more probable that they are forced to live in their parents' homes due to financial reasons. Here I am assuming again that young adults do not want to do this, but rather they are forced to. It is more probable that. And number 4, in California, it is unlikely that a new college graduate can afford to live alone. Rent here is so high, so usually if you are young and you just graduated college and you have your first job, you will have to find roommates or live with your parents. You probably don't make enough money to live on your own, so it is unlikely that a new college graduate can afford to live alone. And if you want to sound even more academic, or emphasize your certainty, or you just want to say that it is very likely or very improbable, you can add the adverb highly, and this creates really nice academic collocations. So we can combine highly with our adjectives and say highly likely, highly probable, highly unlikely, or highly improbable. Now, notice here that I did not say highly possible. This combination of words, or this collocation to me, doesn't sound that frequent or that natural. Grammatically, it's correct, and I would completely understand what you're saying if you said highly possible, but that's just not a phrase I hear too often. So let's look at our examples again with highly. We can say it is highly likely or very likely that cultural and economic factors have caused the difference. Again, here, I didn't say highly possible. You can say that, but I don't think it is a common fixed collocation. Number 2, it is highly improbable that young adults want to live with their parents. Number 3, it is highly probable that they are forced to live in their parents' homes due to financial reasons. And lastly, in California, it is highly unlikely that a new college graduate can afford to live alone. By adding the word highly, we are emphasizing our certainty of the statement, and it is really just a nice synonym for very that sounds a bit more academic. Now, staying with our adjectives, we have grammar construction number 3, adjective plus noun, and we can use all of these adjectives in this way. So let's take a look. The likely or probable cause of this trend is high unemployment rate. So here I am using likely and probable to suggest that this is likely the reason or the cause behind the trend. I can also say one possible reason for children living with their parents is the high cost of living. Here, I'm not so sure, but one possible reason for this is the high cost of living. Here I am making an assumption. I am not saying that it is likely or unlikely, just that it is possible. Now, in the next sentence, I have the word potential. Potential means the same thing as possible, and we can use it like this. Some potential consequences of this trend include adults getting married later and having fewer children. Maybe because young adults are living with their parents longer, they are procrastinating or pushing off marriage or pushing off having kids. But this is just a guess, so I am going to say some potential or possible consequences of this trend. And lastly, I can say a decrease in the cost of housing is a desired but improbable or unlikely result of this trend. So maybe people think that the cost of housing will go down because more people are living with their parents and there is less demand, but that is an improbable or unlikely result of this trend. It is probably not going to happen. Now, so far we have focused mainly on our adjectives, so let's take a look at how we can use some of these nouns to talk about probability. Here we have likelihood, probability, and possibility. And we can use these with the grammar of the noun of something happening, the likelihood, the probability, or the possibility of something happening. Let's take a look. We can say, the likelihood of this trend continuing is high based on the current housing market. So here we're using the noun likelihood and then the likelihood of what? Of this trend continuing. And make sure you use that ing form. And another example, according to the research, the probability of men living with their parents is higher than women. And note that likelihood and probability are synonyms, meaning likely to happen. So in this sentence, it means that it is more likely that men will live with their parents than women. The probability of men living with their parents is higher. And lastly, the possibility of this trend changing is low. So this just means the chance. It does not mean likely or unlikely. It just means the possibility, the opportunity, or the chance of this happening. And lastly, let's take a look at how some of our adverbs can be used to express similar ideas. We will use the grammar adverb plus verb. So here we can say young adults in Southern and Eastern Europe will likely or probably continue to live with their parents. The Pew Research Study mentioned that adults in Southern and Eastern Europe were more likely to live with their parents, and so now I can say they will likely or probably continue to live with their parents. And our next example, those who live in Scandinavian countries could possibly or could potentially face a similar issue in the future. According to the research study, young adults in Scandinavian countries were not living with their parents as much as in the southern and eastern parts, but depending on how things go and the economy, they could possibly or they could potentially face a similar issue in the future. Okay, that's all for today. What do you think about this topic? What age do young adults usually move out of their parents' homes in your country? Do you think this is likely to change in the future, or will it probably remain the same? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And also, don't forget to go to my website, yourfavoriteenglishteacher.com, and pre-order my ebook today. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something new. If you did, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel so you can keep improving your English with me. Bye.